Hey climbers, Brent here. Are you ready to write your best songs ever? Are you ready to take that next step in your songwriting journey? Well, I want to help you with that. Listening to the C.L.I.M.B podcast is a great way to get started on your songwriting journey and to learn the basics about the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. But eventually, you're probably going to need the personal touch. You're probably going to need some one-on-one feedback, some advice, and some help reaching your songwriting goals. And that's what I want to help do for you. I want to help you write your best songs ever. And I want to help you learn the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting, of how to turn pro in your mind and in your behavior before you ever turn pro on paper. Before you ever have the awards to hang on the wall, I want to give you the mindsets and the skills to earn that stuff. And so we'll dive into your questions and I'll give you honest answers. And I can help repair your song if it's already written but has a couple bugs and has some opportunities to get better. Or we can help prepare your song if you have an idea, a notion, a title. We can do your own private song title challenge if you want. If you want to get ready for a co-write, if you have a meeting coming up and you want to get your stuff locked down where it's the best it can be, I'm happy to help you do that as well. You can see my calendar, get all the details, and actually book a session at songwritingpro.com/coaching. That is songwritingpro.com/coaching. Now, if you're still not sure if a coaching session with me is the right thing for you, let's listen to what this climber had to say about their session.
Having been around musicians and songwriters a lot of my life, I always wondered why some made it and others didn't, and it never really made sense. Like there was a glass ceiling or magic formula, or you had to live in Nashville to even have a shot. But after coaching with Brent Baxter, I've come to understand that it's just like anything else in life worth having. It takes an education, knowing people, practice, and then more education and relationships. I didn't really have a clue how much knowledge and intention that it took until I was in the room with him, a man that made his living and fed his family with the knowledge that he has. There's a lot of naturally talented songwriters out there, but at some point, even the greats have to learn new skills and new ropes to stay relevant. I've had so many roadblocks and awe moments released from Brent that I've lost count. His simple observations have solved many of my complex problems, and he's made suggestions that have changed my entire direction on certain songs and pulled me up higher. Sometimes I cringe at the money I've spent on demos. If I had half the money I had spent on demos and put it toward my education, I'd have a lot less worthless demos. He's explained things to me in 5 minutes that really could have made all the difference that entire time.
Song Title Challenge.
All right, welcome to another Song Title Challenge where the question is, climbers, how would you write this one? This is a packed little mini-sode, if you will, where climbers send in their song titles to info@daredevilproduction.com. Remember, production is singular. There is no S. info@daredevilproduction.com, and put Song Title Challenge in the subject line. And then they get into the right folder. I spring them live to Brent, our hit songwriter co-host, our beloved hit songwriter on the C.L.I.M.B show here. And we spend 15 minutes trying to essentially come up with 4 to 5 different conceptual angles to write the same title. Most times, the first most obvious way that you want to write the title is not the best way to do it. There could be another way that's going to get people scratching their heads going, oh, that's so good. So that's what we do. It's a creative exercise. You can use all of it. You can use none of it. You own 100% of the song. The only thing you owe us is just a ticket to the #1 show, right?
Right. Take me to the party.
Brand practices what he preaches, I promise you. Go through your hookbook. I got a song title challenge for everybody. I got the song title challenge.
Challenge, right. Challenge.
For everybody now. I want you to take 5 of your oldest song titles that you have in your hookbook, stuff that you haven't looked at in years, that's kind of like wilted lettuce, that there's no energy in there anymore. They're just not speaking to you like they did.
There's
when you
mystery water in the bottom of the bag. You're like, well, that was dry when I put that in there. Where'd that come from?
Like, what is that? Yeah.
Where's that coming from? Yeah.
And then do this exercise on your own. And you just might pop a couple more up to the top of your hookbook list and reinvigorate them. All of a sudden, in 15 minutes of that kind of work, you can breathe brand new life into something. And as Brent has testified in the past on the podcast, he's taken 10-year-old song title and bring it into a new write and going, hey, check this out. And you're writing the song because you thought about it just a different way, right?
That's right.
So are you ready?
No, but that's never stopped us. Let's rock it.
All right. This is from Chris Burton.
Chris Burton. All right.
The title is In the Neon. In the Neon.
In the Neon. All right. Thank you, Chris, for sending that in. That's interesting. Country is what I write a ton of, right? So that's the first thing I think of. Generally, I hear neon, I think country, honky-tonkin' kind of songs, right? So that's kind of immediately where my mind goes. Let's play with this. In the Neon. I mean, it's an image, so I'm thinking, okay, what am I seeing in the neon? I'll try to let that title give me clues to what this could be about. So much can happen in the neon, right? Or maybe the best stuff is what doesn't happen in the neon. You know, what doesn't happen, what you can't see in the neon. See in the neon. That has a little bit of little internal something to it.
That's hot. Yeah, that's hot.
What you can't see in the neon.
Nice.
Pee on the neon. That'd be a thing, like a sign across the board. Don't pee on the neon. Poop on the jukebox. So anyway,
what you don't see on the neon, like you could be talking about, being in a bar, but and you know how it's typically going to be a little darker and we're meeting somebody for the first time. So we're not meeting that person. We're meeting their representative. Right?
Exactly. It's what Chris Rock said. Yeah.
Yeah. You're meeting a representative. So maybe the lyrics could go down that road and just sort of, because the initial attraction is there. There's some chemistry happening. And by the way, I'm doing a little research on neon while you're talking here. And Wikipedia, I just want to read this because I didn't see this one coming, but neon is a colorless, odorless, inert, monatomic gas under standard conditions with about 2/3 the density of air. Here's the hit. It was discovered along with krypton and xenon in 1898 as one of the 3 residual rare inert elements remaining in dry air after nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide are removed. So he could be your krypton. You're making like subtle little
neon is my kryptonite.
Yeah.
And all the eggheads out there going, that's so cool.
But it would totally work. It's not so clever because everybody knows kryptonite, Superman. Everybody gets that reference. I just thought interesting.
That is interesting. Krypton.
Yep.
I mean, it's so wide open, right? But it could just be the general honky tonk, getting our party on in the neon, having a good time in the neon, and
party
then just
on
kind
in
of
the neon,
party on in the neon. Like, okay, that kind of writes itself. But how do you do that not generically? Right? What do we write that's not the generic just neon party song? Because to me, it's not that interesting. Now, if you're the artist and you're doing that on your own kind of stuff, then hey, maybe you make it really cool. But to me, there's not enough there to really turn me on as a lyricist. It is more interesting saying what you can't see in the neon, because maybe it's a little bit of like New Way to Fly by Garth Brooks, or, these people that are kind of lined up at the bar and you can see the whiskey and you can see all this stuff, but what you can't see in the neon are the broken hearts, the memories, the dreams. You could maybe follow specific people, like you see him sitting there, and the reflection off his whiskey glass kind of stuff. And you can see how his head's kind of dip, and you can see that, but what you can't see is the stuff that's going wrong at home. And that's why he's there to, man, when he used to be a young man and he had his first drink and how it burned and now he doesn't even really taste it. Or it could be talking about these people, like what brought him to this place. Could be a thing, like kind of heavy.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that could be a thing. Or you see her and she's kind of at the corner of the bar and she's making eyes or whatever and kind of running a finger around the top of her shot glass or whatever. But what you don't see is, she got kids at home and a husband wonder where she is, and they haven't, whatever, been warming each other. What you don't see on the neon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be a lot of stuff, like she's out there making herself available. What you don't see is her broken heart and her broken home, that kind of stuff. So there are all these stories you can make up about these people and be just like a real George Strait kind of thing. Which would be cool. It's just kind of character studies and all those details of what you can see, but what you don't see is the chorus, that sort of thing. Or maybe it's like interesting because of our last podcast with Lindsay, talking about, the female artist perspective and stuff. It could even be a female song or a male song, but talking about that girl that looks so hot in the neon kind of thing. But what you don't see is she's so much more than just that. So you should treat her as more than that.
What you don't see in the neon is that you find out that she's really smart, that she's funnier than you.
Exactly. That she's got her own hopes and dreams, insecurities, and her own string of broken hearts and all this stuff that you can't see in the neon. So maybe treat her like a person.
Yeah, because neon really is, it's like the spotlight, right? It's like the way that we sort of develop a relationship with our favorite artists from afar. And, you know, we learn things about them, but we don't really know what happens behind the scenes. And some of it's tragic, but some of it's amazing. Like Dolly Parton behind the scenes is like, if she'd run for president, we'd all vote for her. You know, like, she
Presidential
could run a
pardon for
friggin'
everybody.
country.
Right.
You could seriously run a country. It could be that. I think we're kind of going down that same road there, but just how everything's organized. It's a well-oiled machine. And maybe it's a wish that somebody's thinking about, like you're inside the guy's head, or maybe you're looking back, you know, they're married now and you're just like, man,
things I couldn't see in the neon. You know? Which could be, man, that things I couldn't see in the neon. That could be everything from, dang, she was awesome, I just didn't see it. I saw her as kind of one thing, or I should have been home. I should not have been drinking so much. I should not have been doing all this stuff. Oh man, things I couldn't see in the neon. Or it could be positive, right? Like I thought she was just gorgeous, but I couldn't see all this other stuff that I discovered about her that through that initial attraction, things I couldn't see in the neon. But man, when I got her out of there and we got to talking and all this stuff, oh my gosh, she's even better than what I could see in the neon. It could be a thing too, right? So that's a more of a positive thing. Like she's more than just a pretty face. I do think that's interesting. The thought about her, she's a lot more than you can see in the neon is interesting because that's just a different slice of it. Now, another angle could be, you know, we're talking about the honky tonkin kind of thing. Fish belong in the water or in a skillet. Birds belong in the air, and I belong in the neon. You know, like, almost like a John Party. Like that's my home. That's my environment.
That's where my friends are.
That's home. I belong in the neon. Fish belong in the river. Fish belong in my net. Fish belong on a hook.
Yeah.
Cows belong on a grill. All this stuff. My hand belongs in yours or whatever, and I belong in the neon. Where my friends are, where I get to dance with you, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then you can kind of hit that, but be an interesting way of approaching that kind of honky-tonkin' thing in the verses, which is a different way. And you may not see it coming. Going, fish belong on a hook? What? Where's this going? Whatever, things that are relevant for your brand and the brand you're writing for, right? Because that's going to be different for different artists. But if they're saying, I belong in the neon, or maybe it's a party thing, like, and we belong in the neon. Yeah, birds belong in the sky, fish belong in the river, da-da-da-da-da, and we belong in the neon, where the da-da, and then you kind of describe the bar thing, and we're raising our glasses and stuff. And could be a fun kind of bar anthem.
Here's another way to possibly go. I don't know if this helps or hurts, but there's a lot more to the neon, right? Like think about just all the different kinds of neon signs. There's certainly some really cool, if I'm looking at images of neon signs, aside from your typical bar signs, which we all know very well, there are some other types of iconic neon signs. There certainly can be a vintage, like 50s diners and stuff, the drive-ins, the car hops, they had largely neon signs. It could be one of the really popular signs right now is the Pharmacy Green Cross neon, which is, if you've got an edge, it could also be attributed to weed, because there's a lot of the weed stores. I think that's their iconic thing, and where it's legal. You know, there's lots of places where it's legal to buy weed. I mean, there's Christmas trees. There are the Colony Hotel in Miami Beach. Their sign is neon. It's like, if you saw it, if you're not aware of it, you go look at it, you're like, oh, you've seen that before. You don't even know you've even seen it. BB King's Club, which is a chain, all neon, their sign out on the street.
Yeah.
There's some, I'm looking here, Georgetown's Pizza, Acapulco Mexican food. There's all these different kinds of things. There are coffee joints, strip joints, sushi places, used cars, pizza joints. I mean, there's so much that people do with neon. Maybe it doesn't have to be about a bar, right?
Right, yeah. Or it could be a bar and late night greasy spoon diners and middle of nowhere motels on the road to the next gig. You know, it could be a little bit of the artist's life. Like, man, and I belong in the neon because I go from a neon bar, stay at a motel with a neon sign.
Yeah, with that
an
funky
all-night
neon sign
diner.
lights up your room through the crappy curtains that they have. And like as it blinks on and off like that. Oh, it's so good.
And
so
eating
good.
at that all night, basically Waffle House diner or whatever after the show. It's like, we belong in the neon. It could be a little bit, we're the band, you know, we're an American band, Band of Brothers.
Yes, we're an American band. We're
it's
coming
like
to
they do
your
that, but
town.
we belong in the neon.
And then I think, okay, you just made me think of like a Poison lyric, you know, underneath the neon sign that says Jesus saves. Could belong in the neon there too, right? It could be a little twist on that. But like with a neon sign that says Jesus saves, it has a certain aesthetic that the message is the same, right? But it's like...
That's not usually how you see it. You don't normally see it. It's almost like a barroom aesthetic with a not ballroom message.
Yeah, right? So it's good, so it's a cool way to be cool and a believer, you know, or put some edge on that belief, right? Like a little cool edge.
Yeah, that'd be cool. There are things you don't expect to see in the neon.
Vegas got a lot of neon.
Oh yeah, for sure. Vegas. So it could be a Vegas song. That's the kind of the beauty of this is that it's so wide open, and that's the beauty and the danger of this title. The danger is going, turn up the radio, turn up the jukebox and blah, blah, blah. And we're in the neon. We're in the whatever. And just kind of going straight ahead with no surprises. But then all these different ways to do it. Yes, you Horshack. Yes.
So, man, if you look at any pictures of Broadway in Nashville at night, all those honky-tonk clubs, like just the street is like Vegas, just lit up with neon. That's where the energy is. So what if it's like, to your point, could be like a party song like that, like Come and Join Us because we belong in the neon kind of a thing. It could be also be maybe like Rhinestone Cowboy spin, right?
Chasing that neon rainbow, you know, that Alan Jackson classic. Chasing that neon rainbow, living that honky tonk dream, because all I've ever wanted is to pick this guitar and sing. Just trying to be somebody, want to be heard and seen. Chasing that neon rainbow, living that honky tonk dream.
Right, that's already been done. Let's not go there.
So, I mean, that's been like a long time ago. So, I mean, that stuff comes back around. But
I like the we're in the band thing. I love that aspect of it.
And
like,
that's
if I was writing a song, I'd be pushing for that. Like, oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and you balance that going, okay, what's the service for the listener as well? You know, maybe the band can relate to it, but is there service there for the listener? Sometimes the service may just be, hey, we're letting you into our world. This is almost like a behind the scenes kind of song. Because, you know, I know Dirk's cut a song called Band of Brothers, talking about his band. And so there are some songs about that stuff, but I also like the idea of, you know, fish belong here and birds belong here and different stuff. Money belongs in the bank, whatever. And paycheck belongs in your pocket on a Friday night, and we belong in the neon as kind of a barroom anthem kind of thing. Then the service there for the listener is, we're here, we're at the show, we're at the bar, whatever, and we're all celebratory is a thought too. But thing is, Chris, there are so many ways to go, which is again, the fun and the danger. I think what you want to do is you want to consider, okay, what are your goals, right? What are your goals for the song? What are your goals in general? Like for me, if I'm going, okay, I'm writing this, I want a country hit out of this. I'm going to think about, okay, what's the service for the listener that's going to make the artist feel cool to stand up there and sing, and that the fan's going to get something out of it where it's not just about them, that sort of thing. And I'm going to think about the brand of the artist. There are ways you could frame that kind of the barroom experience differently, and kind of what the moral of the story is, depending on your genre. There's so many different ways.
Something else, like I was just thinking, like, where else do we see neon? Every faded map dot carnival that comes through town got a Ferris wheel, got neon lights on that Ferris wheel. So even from as a kid, you just love the neon.
Yeah.
You loved how that felt.
The carnival thing is interesting. The thought of I belong in the neon. You start off talking about as a kid, man, the carnival comes and all these neon signs, tilt-a-whirl and all this stuff. And you're like, man, I'm in because I belong in the neon where the lights are bright and there's a lot going on and all this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. And then when you're older, you're going to the bar kind of thing too. And maybe you're playing, maybe you're whatever, or you're just there partying, but I belong in the neon. It could be an interesting way of my whole life long. Who knew? I belong in the neon.
Yeah. And it just gave you that energy, right? There's just something. I mean, how do you feel when you're a little kid and you go to that carnival and you're like, I want to get on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And you're so excited.
I'm overstimulated.
Yeah, exactly. But it's got that thing. Like for me, you know, when I was younger and I could smell, because I can't smell now, but going to a live show and smelling like straight up the diesel fuel from the buses just turned me on. Oh, it just was like God saying, that's what you should be doing. You know, yeah. That's why you're going to like this. You know?
That's funny.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So if Chris wants to maybe work this out with you privately or something like that, what's a good way to make that happen?
I do a private coaching. I also do coach writing, and I also do song feedback. So I can help you prepare your song. I can help you repair your song and answer any questions you might have about the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. You can get all the details. You can see my calendar. You can book a session at songwritingpro.com/coaching. That is songwritingpro.com/coaching. And kind of the difference between a coaching session would be like, oh, Chris, yeah, you want to bounce some ideas around, do some more of the song title challenge. Yeah, here's a way maybe you could write that. Blah, blah. You maybe go up over this thing. You could do that in the second verse. Where it's coach writing, what it is I'm like, okay, come on, let's go there together and let's actually hash out these lyrics and rhymes and actually write on the song together. So whatever appeals to you, Chris, or anyone else that's listening to this. So songwritingpro.com/coaching.
There you go. All right, guys. So that brings us to the end of another song title challenge episode. Once again, send your titles in, as many as you'd like, into info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. Put song title challenge in the subject line so that it gets into the right place. And we may just read it on the air and shout you out. This podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.